Now, I actually kind of admire the restraint that they only made one AC/DC joke. Actually, with my luck, it'll turn out they made 2 or 3, and I only caught one, and I'll get that pointed out in the comments as always. Hey, everybody! So, Series 12 of Doctor Who marches on as time is wont to do, which brings us to Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. I was nervous about this one for a couple of reasons. The first is, Orphan 55 was very not good. So, after a strong start with Spyfall, it headed in a direction that was like, oh dear. And I have a pretty long history of not liking most of the historical set episodes of Doctor Who, especially the ones that involve celebrity appearances. And I don't mean celebrity actors, I mean celebrity historical figures. And then on top of that, I also caught from, putting together bits from the trailers that this is also the one that was going to have what looked like some variant of the Rachnos. I'm also on the record as having really not liked the Rachnos Queen. So this didn't look very promising to me. It's pretty good, though. It's not great, but I'll tell you, for how many landmines it could have stepped on, at least in terms of what I like or dislike about this show historically, it dodged them pretty nimbly. I think I've caught the main thing with historical set episodes that deal with famous historical figures. I think I finally figured out the exception where that works for me. It's when the skill set of the historical figure naturally lends itself to being helpful or getting involved with the sorts of things the Doctor is liable to deal with. So someone like Nikola Tesla, and even Thomas Edison, with those kinds of inventions and those kinds of minds, that makes sense. Where it drives me crazy is when they basically just get pulled into a plot that they kind of have absolutely no business being in, like happens with your Charles Dickens and your Queen Victorias, and honestly, I guess Winston Churchill is a bit on the fence, all things considered, given the way the Daleks played into that, but I hope you're kind of getting what I'm saying, where the nature and the true history of that person doesn't actually lend itself to this kind of story, and there's kind of pride in there. And that doesn't feel the case. It feels like a much more natural extension of a time travel story and the kinds of things that need to happen in a time travel aliens story for Nikola Tesla. Or, like I said, Thomas Edison. Cool. And thematically it can sometimes work. I've still got my issues with Rosa, but for theming what they went with, it made sense to go with her. But like a lot of the other ones, they're just here because somebody thought it would be cute, and I just don't find it cute. Vincent worked because it was an episode about depression. And yeah, the guy was deeply, deeply troubled. But anyways, that's tangent over. So this episode specifically, again, strong performances across the board. I'm starting to feel a little bit distanced from this Doctor again, which is a little bit odd and a little bit irritating because I felt like I was being kept at an arm's length through most of Series 11. And then by the end of that, I kind of felt like I got it. And what I thought I had figured out carried me through Resolution, carried me through Spyfall. Now I don't know. Again, between this and Orphan 55, I'm starting to feel like maybe I don't know this Doctor. I thought I did. I thought I had her figured out. I'm not so sure now. And I'm not going to make the leap of saying that that's down to inconsistent portrayal, because I don't think it is. I just think that the hook-in that I thought I had just isn't really the case, not consistently anyways. because just I don't know, she's become very harsh. And it's possible they might end up balancing that, where the impact of realizing what the Master did to Gallifrey has put her in a harsh, dark place. Maybe that's how they'll ultimately justify this. And it could work if that's what they decide to do. But for right now, it's putting me off of her a little bit, which is, again, kind of frustrating for me. Circling back to the episodes, the performance overall was fine. All the performances were fine. Nikola Tesla was good. Thomas Edison was good. I actually quite appreciated, because as much as, historically speaking, Thomas Edison was a massive tool, like just a horrible human being, I do like that it actually didn't go super out of its way to denigrate him, and actually gave the guy some credit for a few things. Like, gave him credit for the fact that he had a brilliant mind, and while it was a dickish way that he went about it, was also a brilliant businessman, which Tesla definitely wasn't. That was one area where undoubtedly Edison outshined him. And I like that the episode doesn't necessarily paint Edison as the bad guy because of that. It does take Tesla's side in the Tesla versus Edison conflict, but that's also one of those conflicts where the more you learn about it, the more you're kind of just left to go, yeah, I kind of got to side with the guy with the stash. But I like that it felt balanced, and not in a both sides need to be presented as equal. No, he's the bigger dick in this entire situation, regardless of, how stubborn and pigheaded or whatever else is wrong with Tesla personality-wise. Edison's the bigger dick in this situation, but that gets acknowledged without painting him as a one-dimensional character, and also without going full, both sides. Like, no, like, they're humans. They're fallible. He's not good. He's not great with people. He's putting progress, secondary to, can he make money off it? And if he can't, he doesn't care. So, it felt well put together, well constructed. That nitpicky thing, and, you could probably justify this anyway, but it is stuck in my head for some reason. It really bothers me that the Doctor called the Silurian blaster alien, because Silurians are from Earth. I know they're a different species, and I guess depending on whether or not you choose to define aliens strictly as off-world, or if you're willing to go just other sentient species, but they're native to this planet. In my mind, that doesn't make them aliens. That annoyed me. And that really stuck in my head, too. There's some odd editing jumps in this, too. Like, when the Doctor and Tesla and his assistant, whose name I am now forgetting, which I shouldn't because she was probably a real person, they've been really good about filling out with real historical figures in these episodes, so apologies. But, they're like, I've got transportation, and they run out a door, and then suddenly they're on a train. I'm like, you glossed over a bit there. That threw me off. That was an odd editing choice. So let's talk about I can't remember the names of these things. The Chip, no, what is it with you and creating names for alien species that just slide off my brain? Dregs is the only thing I can remember, and I don't want to remember them all that much. So, what is it with him? And, these names. God. So, the Scorpion people. I actually kind of like that they're very clearly an offshoot or a related or a sister species to the Rachnos, but that never actually gets brought up. Initially I was kind of are they not going to talk about that? But then I'm like, it's so frigging obvious to anyone who's seen the Runaway Bride, that this is a related species, that they kind of don't have to say it, and it becomes a little bit more of an Easter egg thing. Like I said, it's very blunt, so Easter egg might not be the right term, because that's usually for something slightly more subtle than what's going on here, but you don't actually have to say it. So I kind of like that they didn't. Also, the performance from the queen of this species, way less over the top and campy than the Arachnos queen was. Thank God. I really couldn't stand that performance in The Runaway Bride. It was just, awful. So bad. And part of it, I felt bad for the actress because, she obviously, in The Runaway Bride, couldn't speak through the teeth that I had her have. And she had to talk like this, doctor. Oy. I'm glad that they got that sorted, and that wasn't so much the case here. So that helped. I kind of like the idea that they're scavengers who think they're superior. They have this sense of superiority about themselves that is basically their rationalization for why they don't have to invent and they don't have to build. They're too good for it. Why should they have to when they can just take? I actually kind of like that rationale and motivation because it makes them have this massive superiority complex with nothing backing it up because they don't do anything. Yet they're also clearly high on the food chain, so they can get away with that self-delusion, at least for a while. Until they run into the doctor. So that was cool. Yaz has another sort of, she's just kind of there. Like her bits with, I'm feeling that way about most of the companions so far. None of them have really had much of a highlight. I guess we had Ryan had a bit of a highlight for Orphan 55. But other than that, they're just kind of along for the ride. And that's starting to bug me. If you're going to tell me focus on the doctor, focus on the companions, I will prefer a focus on the doctor most of the time. But at the same time, I'm like, if you're going to have this many in here, please do something with them. Again, much like in Skyfall, they're just kind of there. They're just tagging along. Not really helping, not really hindering. They have there's a funny line here. Maybe there's a nice interaction there. And maybe I'll go, oh God, right. That person's still in this story. Gah, I forgot. So I'm circling back on the fact that the TARDIS is overcrowded again. Because it probably wouldn't bother me so much with they're just along for the ride if there wasn't this many of them. Because I think you can get away with that every now and then when there's only one other companion. And you just have a story where they just sort of run along with the doctor and go oh, okay, and smile and nod and do what they're told. But when there's 3 of them doing that, it really just draws attention to the fact that they're not contributing much. Because that's 3 times as many people not contributing a heck of a lot. So it's not awful in this episode, but that's a point of concern. And again, I feel like I'm making a lot of complaints, but the thing is, they're not, even the things I'm complaining about aren't actually bad in this episode. They're just becoming things that I'm realizing are bothering me about this series, if not the Chibnall era overall so far. And that is a little bit frustrating to do. But if I were to take that out and just focus on this moves at a nice clip. It's well performed. It's decently paced. The threat is credible. The way that it's dealt with works, and I bought it. It's well done for the historical famous person runs into aliens thing. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's on the upper end of that kind of story, and that's coming from someone who doesn't usually like those kinds of stories. But this episode is making me start to clock things that I'm like, I hope that's not gonna be an issue for me for this whole series. Stuff that I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on. But we'll see. So, Nikola Tesla's Night of Terrors. What'd you think of this one? Drop your thoughts down in the comments and let's talk about it. If you want to help me pay my rent and eat, I have a Patreon, which would be incredibly helpful at any amount. Other than that, you can also help me out by hitting the like, the subscribe, sharing this video around, all that sort of stuff. But you also don't have to do any of it because at the end of the day, you are the council and I'm just running the meetings. So until next time, this council is adjourned.